Greetings, everyone. I'm Jeff Loeb, CMO and growth strategist at Chief Outsiders. Today, we're talking about how to win more deals by targeting your ideal customer profile. And I'm thrilled to have as my guest today, Henry Schuck, founder and CEO of ZoomInfo. Henry started the business out of his grad school apartment in 2007 and has guided it through an incredibly successful IPO this year while in the middle of a pandemic. So ZoomInfo is the go-to-market intelligence platform that B2B companies use to find their next best customer. So welcome, Henry.
Thanks, Jeff. It's great to be here. It's great to see you.
Yeah, terrific. So let's jump right in. And what are the three most important trends in how B2B companies are acquiring new customers?
I think the three most important trends today are building a data-driven sales machine, using intent data to go to market, and building a digital insights-driven inside sales or sales development team. And the first thing that I think a lot of companies realized once the pandemic hit was they had a lot of sales resources that were out in the field and out in the market, expensive sales resources, who they were bringing in-house or really picking up at home and needing to build a workflow around. And so these sales reps were historically out shaking hands, finding out about opportunities within a company by being there. And in today's world, they're not going to be back in offices until really late 2021, if that. You can imagine vendors are going to be the last people who show back up inside of a company. And so companies need to figure out, what do I do with these resources? They understand our product, they understand our culture, they understand how to sell. How do I make them effective at home? And we believe you do that by being data-driven and building data-driven sales motions for those reps, identifying a buying intent, identifying a new project or initiative at a company, a new executive who's just been hired. All of that can take place digitally. Companies need to figure out how to do that and bring that to bear for their organizations. Intent data, I think, is really important in today's day and age. B2B is behind B2C on this topic. Everybody has experienced going to a shopping website, looking at an item, and then seeing that item show up all across their web browsers as they browse the internet. B2C has gotten good at delivering content at the right time to the right buyer with the right message. And that data is available now and corralled for B2B use cases. And so using buying intent data to drive your next motion, I think, is really important. And then as companies are going to market today, they're going to need to do it digitally, whether that's with Zoom meetings or it's with sales development teams who are using calling and email campaigns and building customized content for their buyers. They're going to need to do that digitally, and making sure that you optimize that resource so it's always going after the customer who's most likely to buy your products and services at that time at the right ASP, I think are three really important things.
Why does defining the ideal customer profile matter?
Yeah, think about this a little bit like it's like a maze. Imagine finding your next customer is like entering into a corn maze. There are a couple things you can do. You could just go in and start like bumping into walls and turning around and going back, and imagine your customer sitting right there in the middle of the corn maze. And you keep going in these weird directions to try to get into the middle of the corn maze. That's not a real effective way to find your customer. Having an ICP just gives you a route right through the center of the maze, right at your customers. And when you're thinking about allocating the resources that you have to grow your business, to generate more leads, to close those leads more effectively, having the ability, instead of going this way and that way and this way and that way to get to the center, having the ability to go straight at your customer and know who that customer is and have the route to them, I think of that as like the power of an ICP. And it gives marketers and sellers the ability to avoid poor resource allocation and a bunch of dead ends in their marketing and sales processes.
So how does Zoom Info enable identification and targeting of prospects that fit your ICP?
Yeah, I mean, usually when companies go to identify their ICP, the way it tends to work is they'll go, a marketer will probably start by talking to sales and the other marketers and saying like, hey, what feels like the best customers for us? And a sales rep might say, you know what? I can never really sell when I'm in a big account. This is a Fortune 500 account. We just don't have the product market fit in that organization. But if you give me a manufacturing company with 200 to 500 employees, I can sell that all day long. Give me manufacturing companies, 200, 500 employees, those turn over for me quickly. They turn over at the highest ASPs. I sell them most effectively. And so when you hear that as a marketer, your first job is to go test that hypothesis. You go into Salesforce or your CRM or your marketing automation tool, and you start looking at, how many leads did we generate from manufacturing companies with 200 to 500 employees? How fast did we close those leads? At what ASPs did we close them? How much of our business is those? And then we're looking at those companies as they compare to the larger, more generic group of clients that we have. And what you miss there are a couple things. First, this type of analytic is really dependent on the data that you're using to look at it. It is garbage in, garbage out. If you're reliant on what your sales rep put in as industry and what your sales rep put in as size into the CRM, the data is just not going to be that effective to do anything on. And a sales rep, and also there are a whole long tail of key data points that you just don't see by looking at a company's website or reading their Wikipedia page. You might get industry and you might get size of company, but for us, for example, we want to know what CRM they're using, what marketing automation system they're using, what year they were founded, when their last round of funding was, whether they're private equity or VC backed, how many salespeople they have, how many offices they have, are they based in the United States or abroad? And so we're getting all of that data from the ZoomInfo platform. And so now when I'm crafting an ICP, I can actually, at ZoomInfo, we can use a software product that takes all of our wins and all of our losses and then defines for us the patterns that are most closely associated to those wins or losses. And that's actually how we came up with, size of sales teams, CRM or marketing automation tool, number of locations. And then once you have that, you can just go look for the lookalikes that look like that. But imagine if I sat down with almost every marketer in the country and I said, hey, your best ICP is a company that uses this technology, that has this many offices, that's based in the United States, that's funded by a private equity or VC company that's of this size and is in this industry. Go pull that from your CRM tool for me. Like, their heads would explode. It's just not readily available. And so having a third-party data provider that can give you access to that long tail of attributes makes your ICP much more precise and targeted. And that's really what we're trying to do with ICP.
Why does purchase intent data matter? And how does intent data help identify prospects that are in market?
Yeah, so purchase intent data is incredibly important because historically, as B2B marketers and salespeople, we've been trapped with the data and analytic that's produced out of the four corners of our website. If somebody comes to our website and downloads a white paper or clicks a link from a marketing automation program and then lands on our website, we can do all sorts of analytics around what they did, what their journey was through their website. If they hit a pricing page, we can launch another campaign. If they viewed a specific product, we can call them and talk to them about that product. But we're trapped in those four corners of our website. And most of the research for B2B products is not being done on your website. Like for ZoomInfo, it's not that likely that somebody sits down and says, I'm looking for sales intelligence, and comes straight to the ZoomInfo website to do that research. They're doing it on Forbes, and if you're a marketer, you're doing it on the Wall Street Journal CMO Journal, you're doing it on other publications, and you're not on my website, so I have no visibility to you. What buying intent data does is it gives you a view of the topics that are critical to your business and who's researching them outside of the four corners of your website. And so bringing that world of people who are doing significant amounts of research on you, on a topic that's relevant to your business, on your competitors, and then using that to drive your next action from a marketing or sales perspective, like that is the holy grail of what every marketer and salesperson wants to be able to do. I want to call you when you're doing research on my product. And I can do that if you're on my website, but I can't really do it when you're outside of it without intent data.
So that's awesome, Henry. Thank you very much. Really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for having me.